Yet another instance of police being called to investigate a black person.
Of her dorm, and then the police were called.
Let me open my apartment for you so that you can see that I belong here.
Reported racial profiling.
CSU Police, this is Ginger.
Put your hand in your pocket, please.
Someone called us. Somebody in the building or somebody who saw a black man moving and stuff?
This has a burglary in progress.
So was this a case of racial profiling?
I felt harassed, I felt insulted, I felt demeaned, but I was reminded that this is what it means to be black in America.
I have every right to call the police. You cannot sleep in that room.
Recently, the police were called on me when I fell asleep in the common room of my graduate dorm at Yale University. I need to go back to the 12th floor to finish writing my paper.
What's, you got your ID on you?
Yeah, I do.
Black and brown people have been harassed by law enforcement in this country for centuries, going all the way back to slave codes. This is continued with things like loitering laws, which allowed police to arrest black and brown people, put them in jail, and essentially turn them back to the very same work that they were doing as slaves.
We're constantly having to prove that we are allowed to be where we are, that we have permission, that we have freedom papers.
Somebody called the cops on me in my own building. Who called you? Someone called us. Somebody in the building or somebody who saw a black man moving and stuff?
Why is it that many white Americans feel completely comfortable calling the police to intervene in circumstances where absolutely no criminal activity is happening?
Hi, I'm observing a young black man at one of my neighbors walking out with luggage.
And you said he's a black male. What nationality are the residents?
They're white.
We're going to have officers on the way and treat this as a burglary in progress.
And let's be clear, even if no one gets killed, the encounters can still be horrific and leave lasting trauma.
Remove yourself from our premises in the next 5 minutes, please. Because the authorities have been called.
We were falsely accused of playing too slow and offered our money back. We were sad, we were depressed, we were confused.
It was a disgrace the way we were treated that day. Then the harsh reality hit me of racism and discrimination is alive and well in 2018.
The act of calling the police on a person of color, on a black person who has not committed a crime in your presence is an act of violence, because you're basically setting that person up to possibly be murdered unjustly by the police.
Police show up and lives are ruined when people are arrested, and too often black lives are lost when this happens.
We know that black and brown men and women are 3 times more likely to be killed by police. We know that black and brown men and women make up 50% of the total of people who are unarmed who are killed by police.
What's the problem? I live here. What do you guys investigate? Listen. They call.
I think what needs to happen for us to begin to address this and solve this is, number one, for people to understand and begin to recognize and have an uncomfortable reckoning with the internal biases that they hold, the implicit feelings that they harbor with regards to race.
I am not asking anyone to refrain from calling the police if you see actual dangerous behavior. What I am asking you to do is stop and think for just a second. If I saw a white person moving into their apartment, would I call the police? It is very easy for conversations to be distracted in America these days. We are determined that we are not going to let this issue lapse into silence. This is on all of us, and we need to keep it at the forefront of our minds as we think about what it means to truly reform policing and the criminal justice system in America.